Sports stories from the 419 in Northwest Ohio, brought to you by a voice you know. It's time to go around the area and around the Hearn.
Hello and welcome into a very special edition of Around the Hearn. If you listen to all of the podcasts in this series, you will have heard this a handful of times, and for that, I'd apologize, but it's just the easiest way to do it. I've got a massive undertaking with this series. I did this last year and didn't have as many coaches, but have been blessed to have so many great coaches be a part of this. 45 total interviews where you will hear from girls coaches, boys coaches, and a little bit of a preview of the season, which kicked off last night as I'm recording this. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, as my daughter would say, gobble, gobble, gobble. But I really love this series, and I really hope you enjoy it. I hope you reach out to me either on Facebook or on Twitter, because it's a labor of love. 45 coaches are separated like this. Putnam County girls are represented by Kalida's Adam Huber, Vaughn Horseman of Ottoville, Sean O'Connor from Fort Jennings, and Ross Yearman of Miller City. Putnam County boys, Connor Kohls from Grove, Mike Lee from Pandora-Gaboa, Scott Keck from Continental, the one and the only Keith Utendorf from Ottoville, Ross Kaufman of Miller City, and Ryan Stechschulte from Kalida. Northwest Conference girls, Adam Burris, who's having a big week. He picked up his first win as the head coach of the Bluffton girls. Had a big turnaround, too, because they were outscored in the first half, but held Corey Rawson to just 11 points. Greg Ekus, in a decade of Ekus at Spencerville. Aaron Montgomery at Allen East. Kyle Williams from Lincoln View, and Mark Gregory from Crestview. NWC boys, you've got Ada's Vince Halliday. Kevin Sensabaugh from Spencerville, now in his 22nd year, by the way. Gabe Young from Allen East, Jordan Jenninghoff from Delphus Jefferson, Brett Hammonds of Lincoln View, and Doug Etzler from Crestview. Midwest Athletic Conference, Parkway's Dan Williamson, Amy Meyer from Coldwater, Best Drive from Marion Local, Mike Wiss from Minster, and Andy Timmerman from New Bremen. The Midwest Athletic Conference has the entire conference full of coaches. Aaron Ower from St. John's, Travis Swank from Versailles, Doug Hughes from Parkway, Eric Rosenbeck of St. Henry, Nick Fisher from Coldwater, Mike McClurg from Minster, New Bremen's Corey Stevens, Kurt Guttemiller from Marion Local, and Carson Monger from New Knoxville. Western Buckeye League, Kenton's Ryan Miller, Trey Elkert from Wapak, Matt Tabler from Elida, and Tyson McLaughlin from Ottoville Glandorf. WBL Girls, Hannah Flippo from Van Wert and Elise Jenkins from Elida. GMC has both Wayne Trace coaches, and Jim Linder on the boys and Bethany Desjardins for the girls. Shelby County the exact same way for Fort Loramie. Carlos Siegel and Mitch Westerheide. And just for good measure, Anna's Nate Barhorst. Those are the coaches that I was able to spend some time and talk to this week and the last 2 weeks. And it has been quite literally a huge undertaking, like I said before. So I really hope that you enjoy it, that you get some entertainment, you get some knowledge, you get some value out of it. I'm really excited about the basketball season starting and the crossover with the state semifinals for football this weekend. And I can't thank the coaches enough for being a part of it. And without further ado, I bring you the 23-24 Around the Hearn season basketball preview. Enjoy. Looking at the Putnam County League and the Pandora-Gaboa Rockets with the head coach in Mike Lee. And Mike, you've got three great returning players that are all three-year letter winners with the Harrises and Aiden Morris. That's a pretty good start to a lot of teams that a lot of coaches would like to have.
There's certainly something to be said about experience. And, yeah, you hit the nail on the head relative to, you don't get that year in and year out. So these kids have been through, the wars of weekly sessions and Friday, Saturday games and preparation and what it takes to try to be successful. There's no guarantees. But, like I said, it's definitely a blessing to have that type of experience coming back.
You guys come off an 18-5 year. I know you were disappointed with the way that it ended with that loss to St. John's. But with so much coming back this year, I've got to believe that there's a lot of hope right now about how this team can be. And you hit the road running with 3 games in the first 7 days of the year.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, going back to the word experience again, where I'm hoping that, again, with that experience, that should hopefully cover up a few holes that, typically you're going to see early in the year. And it's certainly not going to be perfect, but again, it certainly helps just to have those kids back and surrounded by some other kids that got, quite a bit of time as well a year ago. So, yeah, we hit the ground running like a lot of other schools, like a lot of other teams. You got to be ready to go. And from my standpoint, it's like we're going to get everybody's best shot. And that's the way it should be. And we haven't really had those discussions yet. Those will be coming forth here in the next week or two relative to leading up to that first weekend. But, again, I think, we're like a lot of teams, we've got high expectations going into 23-24.
I know the obvious answer is we have a lot of guys who have led us for multiple years, like the three kids I talked about. But what is it about the launch pad? You guys went 11-0 there last year. You're 20-2 the last two seasons at home in Pandora-Gaboa. What is it about that venue that you take it to another level?
Well, naturally, there's a lot of schools, and we're one of them that, for whatever reason that is, comfortable surroundings, good crowd base, the fans sit pretty close to the venue, and our kids they take pride in the fact that you've just got, again. We talk to our kids a lot relative to you have to take care of business on your own floor because, ultimately, again, when you hit the road, it's totally different. So, again, I give those kids credit because, again, going back to, just the whole point of being ready to go, that happens more time than not in the last couple of years at our place.
With everybody being that close, have you ever found yourself either thinking or being offered maybe coaching advice about what you should be doing if things aren't going well? Because I know that's a vocal fan base.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, very, very supportive. Naturally, when things are going well, it's much easier. But ultimately, I've been on the other side as well in terms of when, you do have stretches where things are not like that you want them to be. So, but ultimately, like I said, it's a good base, supportive community. There's nothing like small school athletics, not only for our sport, but many others.
Well, I just have to think that there are not many times with being at Minster, with being at Pandora, that with being so close that there's not many times that you haven't maybe heard things that people will say, well, why doesn't he press here? Or, because Grandma loves to give advice.
Yeah. Grandma and grandpa, aunt, uncle, go right down the family tree. Yes. I'm to the stage where, I've heard just a little bit of everything at any time, whether that be before, during, or after. But again, everybody has their philosophy. I've got my philosophy. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. But, again, I firmly believe that, in situations that take place during the course of a game, preparation, whatever, it's, we're pretty much sound with that.
I've always been fascinated. I realize this is a little further off your team, but I've always wanted to ask a coach that's been around for a while. When you go and you meet with the other coach, when you do the handshakes and everybody, and you just have a conversation, how much of that is about actual basketball and how much of it is just laughing or something else that's going on?
That's a great question. I'm gonna answer that by saying it's a lot of times there's 50-50. Naturally, like you alluded to, I've been around the block a few times, and there are a few of those coaches still out there. So, those conversations may take on a different meaning relative to off the floor of basketball, just because we have met so many times. But again, there are other situations and other coaches where, it's pretty much a a basketball junkie, you might say, type of conversation beforehand.
Well, because I'm not going to ask you to incriminate them because I know who they are and they know who they are. But you have quite a few jokers on your schedule where I can only imagine, Keith Utendorf, that it probably you just kind of walk away and laugh of, all right, so that's a thing that happened.
Well, yeah. Again, our approach, and like I said, we just have not had conversations. And again, our whole focus here this last week, once we got the football kids back, has just been in terms of preparation and practice time and this, that, and another. But ultimately, again, we have to take care of business. We can't look. Again, we can't look further ahead than what's right smack dab in front of us, and that means if you look further down the road, you're going to be had. And I've had that happen many a night.
Okay, well, to piggyback that, the only time that I will ask you this, you have 6 of your last 9 on the road with what feels like pretty much a rivalry game every night, specifically the early part of February. You go to Bluffton, you go to Grove, you go to Macomb in a 6-day period. What's that like from a game point perspective of, does any of that sort of buy into your game plan, or is it just, hey, they're the next team on our schedule?
Well, absolutely, and the kids know it as well. And again, when we get to that stretch, and you hit, like I said, you nail it relative to that is one of our toughest stretches that's on our schedule, among others. But not only, like you said, rivalry games. Again, we scale things back on the practice floor to make sure that our kids are as fresh as they possibly can be. Now, again, is that a guarantee that it's going to work? No, it is not. But ultimately, it's a one game at a time stretch, knowing that, again, Pandora, it's rivalry. You've got relation in Bluffton and Grove and Macomb and right down the line.
I couldn't have said that any better. I just have to ask because I'm always fascinated by those games because I know a lot of times, especially with Grove for Pandora Gabo, that that's that big one with the atmosphere, but it's in a weird spot, sort of in the thing where you're getting ready for tournament, you're playing league night pretty much all the time, and just it was neat to kind of look at that. So I would love to hear the kids' response, I guess, would be the other part of that.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt.
No, we don't like them. Of course you don't. Well, I always appreciate our conversations. Thank you so much for spending some time talking about your program.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks again for the opportunity. And again, looking forward to going back at it for year number 5 at PG.
That's Mike Lee, the head coach at Pandora Gaboa. I want to throw that in because that lady's not coming after me again. More with some other PCL coaches when we come back here in just a minute.
All right.
Ottoville Big Green basketball now, the 7th-year head coach of the Big Greens program, and Keith Utendorf, coming off of a 19-6 district runner-up finish a year ago and a heartbreaker in double overtime against Crestview. Have you gotten over that game yet?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'll ever get over that game. But, our kids were tremendous. We played really, really well. And obviously we played a really, really good basketball team that ended up playing obviously very, very far into the tournament after our game. So we understand what it was. We were disappointed in the end, mostly for those seniors that had done so much for our program over their 4 years too. We were disappointed for them to not be able to enjoy a couple more days in practice or a week or longer or just another shot to be better and to play another game and mostly to practice together. But it is what it is. We'll try to get over it. Maybe time heals all wounds. I don't know.
A lot of your top 8 back and a lot of those kids who are celebrating a successful run with the soccer ball on their foot. I know you're a big fan, obviously, of the kids and of soccer. Did they come to you at any point for any kind of wisdom of how to handle that level of success with the soccer ball?
They come to me for zero advice on the soccer ball. But as you said, I've become a soccer fan. and mostly because our kids play really, really well together, both on the pitch, they call it, I guess, and on the court.
Look at you
as
showing
we're coming
off your
to find
fancy
out.
knowledge.
Oh, I know. I tell you, I told you, I'm becoming a fan slowly but surely, especially when our kids play as hard as they do and as together as they do as well. So, we've enjoyed some really, really fun fall success here at Ottoville and with our boys, especially here lately in multiple sports. And hopefully that's transferable. That's what we've always hoped. And I think it is. I hope it is as we enter the next season approaching, and we use that success and experience hopefully to our advantage.
You've got 5 seniors this season and guys who have played multiple years. How important is that returning leadership, not only with them, but with the handful of junior kids you've got right behind them that are kind of the same way? Does it make it that you don't maybe have to say as much to them to get them going?
Yeah, I think one thing that our program has kind of built itself upon ever since I got here and previously at my previous stop too, we've really emphasized senior leadership. Guys that have been a part of our program for 4 years have grinded for those 4 years and gotten better. And so now it's this set of seniors' chance to lead. We always talk about that in the preseason. This is their team. And so their expectations and their goals are what we're going to use to kind of guide us throughout the regular season and then hopefully beyond. And they've picked up where the last group has left off for sure. It's a great group of kids, great 5 seniors, as you mentioned, that have been a part of it, have worked hard, continue to get better, and are now putting themselves in opportunities for roles, both in leadership and obviously execution on the floor that we hope are going to be adequate enough and even way beyond that, as well as welcoming the next set of, like you said, juniors that have a lot of promise and a lot of talent and athleticism. And it's been very good and somewhat clean. I mean, it's obviously a abrupt start for us here in the preseason, and there's a lot to learn in a 2-week time frame, basically, before we have our first game. But to have that leadership and experience in both that junior and senior classes, it's obviously a help, obviously, as we try to jam all this stuff in before our first game.
5 of your first 7 at home, but you start on the road with a very tough environment to play in New Bremen and a tough Cardinal squad that is always ready to play. What's the relationship like kind of between you and New Bremen that you're able to go a little further off maybe your beaten path and find out what the other side of 66 is like?
Yeah, obviously Corey and I have on the fringes kind of known each other for a little bit. We kind of have developed an opportunity to kind of get this game, had a couple of shifts in the schedule a few years ago. We knew the athletes and the quality of programs that New Bremen and the MAC obviously has. So when they offered to kind of play us this opening weekend, we jumped at the opportunity to play a quality program, a quality community, to give ourselves in our non-conference schedule a really good leg up, we feel like, by putting them on the schedule and giving us the opportunity to see where we're at, especially early in the season. So we've been blessed to have the non-league schedule that we've had, and they're obviously one of quite a few that we hope and have helped us kind of prepare for the postseason as we kind of and the league schedule as we navigate the season. So yeah, we're happy. We love having this little road trip here. It's just down 66 for us, so we're connected by a singular road. But it's definitely a little bit of a haul for us. But we enjoy road trips and playing quality programs, and they surely are one.
If you didn't have that kind of awkward jaunt when you're leaving town to get back to 66 and go through Delphus, it would probably be about 4 or 5 turns on the entire thing. But since 66 has got to be insanity through everybody's towns. It's just a little bit of how do we get there from here?
I trust our bus driver, Lynette, with all of my fibers, and I don't have to worry about a singular thing. I didn't even know there's a turn on it other than through Delphus, I guess. But, we we like the trip, the travel, and and our bus driver, Lynette, is awesome. So she usually just takes care of everything for me, and when we get there, we're ready to go usually in a timely manner too.
I think if you guys had thrown in Fort Loramie, you would have hit every team up and down 66 in about a 50-mile radius.
Well, and when when that was definitely a possibility. We talked about getting in the Fort Loramie tournament a couple years ago, and having Corey there as well would be a good. We would welcome that opportunity too, I guess, is bottom line. So another quality program, now quality community. So if they're looking for a game, I know we're not too far away.
Quirk in your schedule, and I know we've talked about this before, but with playing Fort Jennings early at home in December and then playing them again on the road at their place, which I know you're a big fan of, how is that? Are you able to, because it's a month in between, use a lot of the same stuff, or the second time around, do you just kind of go and do you, or is one more important to you that you don't show them everything the first time around when you play non-league because you know you'll play them again?
Yeah, there's a balance, I think. Obviously, when you play teams multiple times on your schedule, obviously for the tournament run, this is a good, barometer for that as well. What do you show them and what do you not? For what we do, for the most part, we are who we are. I think that style and identity is part of our fabric. And so there's not a lot different. I know sometimes teams do some different stuff to us, usually the first or second time around, especially too. It's not like we don't do anything different either. We obviously make adjustments and whatnot, but our kids take a lot of pride in the style and the way we play the game of basketball and how we want to play it. So for the most part, we approach each game obviously with the same mindset. Obviously, the second one is a little bit more important, being that it's the league game, obviously. But from an approach standpoint, we really kind of try to fashion ourselves on do what we do, but make adjustments within, whether it's in the game at moments or from game to game, and make those adjustments if we need to, and see where we end up. But our kids believe in our style. They believe in the way we do things. And so for the most part, we're approaching it that way as well.
What are you most forward looking to about this season?
Great question. Honestly, I really feel really good. We've got 10, 11, or 12 guys that potentially could help and contribute. And honestly, like we talked about with the groups that we've had, these guys have just been an extension of every class that we've had since we've gotten here. And so I'm excited to get to see these guys get better over the course of a year, play as hard as they do, which is something that's been a part of our program and the kids because of the parents and the community. I'm just excited to see how we kind of manipulate both the schedule and roles and how guys are going to kind of define themselves over the course of the schedule within our team and what they can do for us. I think there's a lot of potential for a lot of our guys to play really, really well. And to be kind of the next set of guys. So I'm excited just to see kind of who decides to take that next sort of mantle and run with it, and see where we end up at the end.
Well, as always, I appreciate you massively, and I wish you and the boys the best of luck this season.
I appreciate you always as well. I thank you for everything that you do, not only for me, but our program and our kids. You are the best, and I think you know that. And I might even have a little gift if you actually show up to any of our games sometime. But I don't want people to get the wrong idea either.
Well,
we're actually friends.
We'll see how December 1st goes.
Yeah. Well, that's the first opportunity.
Well, it's also the first opportunity to disappoint you, so we'll see how that goes.
Not the first time.
That's Keith Utendorf. I have nothing else for him, so that is a look at Ottoville basketball. Ready now to talk Miller City Wildcats basketball with the head boys coach and Ross Kaufman. Getting ready for the season, it's crazy to me that it is just a week away before you guys tip off. Does it feel that way to you that you've...
Yeah, I mean, it's only come quick. I know our guys, we're excited to get going. We're looking forward to a really good season. We had a solid one last year, bringing back a lot of experience, a lot of upcoming classmen. So we're excited to get going here.
Coming out of practice, I know very recently, how has that been getting ready for day number one?
It's been really good. Our guys, they've been hard. Things have kind of taken a step up. It seems like everybody's competing a little bit hard. We had a really good summer and got a lot of guys in, just get some reps. I think we were rotating kind of 10 guys at the varsity level in the summer. And, we're almost getting to that point right now. We've got kind of 10 guys on the varsity end. We've got 10 guys on the JV end. So it's very competitive through. Even our JV guys, they're trying to stay ahead. There's a good freshman class with a lot of numbers too that have been really so it's just very competitive. Each guy's pushing the next one. And I mean, it's just been very exciting and a lot of energy in the gym.
Last year, you guys fall to the eventual state runner-up Crestview after you have that big win against Lipsick. You're able to win all but one of your last 6 games. What kind of momentum can you take from that and sort of push it forward for this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just how we play. I mean, I think guys start to get some connections with each other, start to build some really good chemistry with minutes. And we're starting to feel how good it be to win, what it all takes to win. And then obviously losing to Crestview, that hurt pretty good for those guys, especially those seniors. But to see them go on and become that runner-up and compete against some of the best teams in the state, with some high pressure situations, I think it was just an awesome experience for our guys to kind of see that, and hopefully can kind of take that and understand what it's going to take to have a good year this year.
And it's a weird bookend too, because you guys start with a loss to them, end with a loss to them. What was different the second time around? Was it because you were riding that hot streak that, it kind of just needed a couple of things to go your way, or did it kind of little things fall apart like the first time?
I definitely think the first time, it's tough to really scout a team when all you have is scrimmage tape, and you don't really see the numbers, you don't really get a chance to see them in person. It's just not the same as you can actually see them in person. And we competed that first game. Some things just kind of fell apart in that second half for us. But that tournament game, I mean, we had guys sick, banged up, obviously. But I think for them, they were just, I mean, we were getting better as the season went, but I think their depth and experience just wore us down, especially late in that game. We were competitive in that first quarter. The second quarter, they threw that 1-3-1, kind of threw us for a loop, got us down. And then I think that second half, their experience and just depth just kind of took over.
And of course, speaking of Crestview, that's how you guys kick off the season this year, by going out to the Ray. Crestview team that has got height back, but a little bit of the same thing in that, like you said, it's hard to scout a team when you only have bits and pieces of little things.
Yeah, I mean, I know the guys, they're excited for the game. Going over there is going to be tough. I think it's a triple header for us this year, freshman, JV, varsity. So it's going to be a long day. Trying to keep those guys focused, especially for that third game. Especially if things don't go well the second game, trying to keep their energy, trying to keep the mood light, keep them focused what they have to do. And then obviously we just want to make that we can do what we need to do and not focus on what they're doing.
You guys have in the middle of your schedule kind of that oddity that everybody has of you play a game after Christmas, you don't play again until after the New Year's, but you go Monday, Friday, Saturday, where you have 3 straight with PG, Continental, and Lincoln View. How much do you enjoy those tests in the middle of, it's almost like kind of a tournament format of challenging your guys and finding out where you are halfway through the year?
Yeah, I think those are some really fun experiences. I know last year, I think we had 3 games in like 6 days or something like that. So those can be a little tough on just physically, mentally, especially if they don't go well. and you're playing some really tough opponents, it's hard to get that quick turnaround and scout. But yeah, like you said, it gives you that tournament atmosphere, and where, hey, we're having a game, we have a couple days prep, right back to it. I think the nice thing is if you don't have the outcome you're looking for, you got to forget it and you got to move on to the next one. I think it's a good mental test for us and physically to kind of see how deep we can be and give guys opportunities. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting having those kind of that Monday, Friday PCL matchups. Obviously, Payne is going to be very strong. Turn around Continental and then Lincoln View. I mean, those are always some big games for us in the middle of the year. We got to stay competitive and try to keep ourselves on pace.
Last 3 years, you guys have continued to get better and better. You go from 6 wins to 11 wins to 13 last year. What's the most important thing for this team to win more than 13 in 23-24?
Our defense. Our defense has got to be better than it's ever been if we want to compete. Our schedule has gotten tougher. We've gotten bigger and better teams on there. We've upped our scrimmage schedule this year. You know, we just came back from Saturday. We went to Berlin Highland and played them and Colonel Crawford. So for us, it's got to be the defensive end's got to lock in. Our defense is great offense for us, because, I mean, we can shoot really well on certain nights and it can be a shootout. But on the nights don't shoot well, we have to have our defense to fall back on. And, I mean, we're going to play some really good, really high-scoring teams, and we can be able to lock in and stop somebody.
I'm more concerned about if you guys went to Der Dutchman while you were out there.
It was talked about. We did not quite get that opportunity. Their coach got us some pizza and stuff. We stopped for some fry pies on the way back. So
there you go.
The guys were happy about that.
I was going to say, there's one thing you can't leave out there without. It's a fry pie. And people just don't understand
we stopped,
that.
All the guys got some. The PCL has gotten better and better as time has gone on, whether it's been just the players that are coming out of there, the style of basketball is being played. The coaches have just gotten better and kind of pushed each other as time's gone on. It's always tough to get wins, it seems like, in the PCL. I know we haven't had a PCL championship since, I think, 2014. And, you know, our guys, that's always one of our goals, is to compete and try to stay afloat in the PCL towards the end of the season. So for us, I mean, we got to start off strong. We always start with Lipsick. I know our guys, we felt good last year going up against them with the matchups that we had. But I mean, Pandora always ends up being that second one. They've been very strong. They've got good depth. They've got a lot of guys back, a lot of experience. So, I mean, they gave a good game last year, beat up on us a little bit. So I think for us, it's, you know, can we beat those top tier teams? Can we beat the Pandora? Can we beat the Ottoville mid-season and then give ourselves a shot towards the end?
Good luck to you and the boys as you roll through this year.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
That is Miller City Basketball with the head coach in Ross Kaufman. And back with some more in just a few minutes. Working our way to the Northwest Conference or to the Putnam County League, whichever way it is that you prefer. Talking to the first-year head coach of the Columbus Grove Bulldogs in Connor Kohls. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, not that far from the season. How's not pulling your hair out going?
I don't have a lot of hair to begin with. I like to keep it short, so it makes it a little bit easier. But so far, practice has been going good. But we only have, I think, 9 kids total that are not in football. So shortened practice with, you know, limited dudes or whatever. So we're trying to make the best of it. And it's happened like this for the last couple of years with the football team doing really, really well and winning a lot of games late in the season. So just doing a lot of, you know, individual development and skill work and trying to get these 9 guys, you know, as best as they possibly can be. And whenever the football team decides to either win it all or lose or whatever, we'll pick up where we can.
Well, and it's kind of funny because, you know, a lot of schools don't have that issue, but it's nice to have that issue because it kind of success kind of breeds success and all that. But, I mean, you're missing some pretty big dogs, but I guess my question is, with 9 guys, you've got a young athletic staff. Which one of you is strapping it up to play 5-on-5?
Well, I think we all pretty much could if we had to, but we haven't yet. We're trying to stay out of it and save the injuries. We don't want any injuries for the coaching staff. We're we're out of our prime, so we're past that stage. But if we had to, we could definitely suit up and go live a little bit. But we haven't yet. So.
Well, I've got to believe Blake's still pretty close to his prime. I mean, he's not that old.
No, he's not. No, he could. Yeah, he plays. A couple nights a week with some older guys or whatever, and so he still plays and gets up and down and stuff. But yeah, I think he's only 20, so yeah, he's not as old as me.
How important was it for you? I mean, obviously you've surrounded yourself with Grove guys. Was that important, or was it just that they're kind of guys you want to be around and good basketball people?
Yeah, I mean, you always want to have guys that kind of went through the program themselves. I think that makes them a little bit more relatable to the kids. Especially with Blake, these are kind of the kids that, looked up to him when he was playing and they were junior high or, a little bit younger or even, I think there was a couple freshmen. So, having Blake on staff, that's a huge part for us because he was a really good player. He was really, really smart, and just kind of watching him at practice these last week or two, running drills and stuff. That's, kind of seeing that leadership from him, that's a good thing. So obviously you want to have guys that, put in the time themselves, but also just the basketball knowledge themselves too. So, having Blake and Clay Diller, who was a year younger than me and played basketball, and Jackson Schrader is going to help our freshman team who just graduated 2 years ago too. So we got a young staff, but a lot of these guys were a part of really, really successful teams here at Grove. So they have the basketball IQ to lead the kids in the right direction.
You've got a lot of what I would call Swiss Army knife guys because Zach Reynolds, Trent Barraza, Bo Burness, Kyle Hopkins, they're a lot of the same in that they do a lot of everything for you guys. I mean, coming into your first year with having guys who they don't care if they're the rebounding guy one night or the scoring guy or the assist guy or whatever it is, how much does that help you as a first-year coach of being able to know, all right, I don't need one guy to do one specific thing because everybody can do a little bit of everything?
Yeah. I mean, having 8 returning lettermen for your first year as a head coach, I don't know if you could ask for, anything better than that. That's huge to have that experience coming back. That'll help me with my inexperience as a head coach. So, that makes things a little bit easier on me. But yeah, kind of like you said, we have guys that can do everything. So, Trent Barraza could go out and score, 21 night, and then the next game he could have only 5 or 6, but he could, guard the other team's best player. So having a lot of guys that can do a whole bunch of different things, that makes my job a lot easier. And I think that's going to be, an important aspect for the kids to understand is that everybody has a role. And, each night it could change, it could vary, whether it's Zach Reynolds scoring, 12, 15 points or getting 9 rebounds a game, or Bo Burness guarding the post. And then the next game he's, guarding a guard and making shots outside. So I think just having that versatility throughout the team 1 through 8 that we have, is just going to make us, even better come deeper in the season.
Obviously not that you're new to the program, but new in that you slide down into Chris Sauter's seat. Last year, 8-15, not the way you wanted in the PCL, even in the NWC. What was it about that run? Was it coming late out of football, or was it just maybe things didn't necessarily gel like they should have?
I think it was a combination of a couple different things. Obviously, late starting with football again, but that's different than this year because last year we only returned 2 lettermen. So we were a really, really young team. Landon Best was a freshman last year and started for us. Trent Barraza was only a sophomore last year, and that was his first varsity experience, and he ended up with second team NWC. Kyle Hopkins, again, first-year varsity player. So we only returned 2 lettermen from the previous year. So last year we only had 2 lettermen to start. So a big difference from last year to this year is we have guys back that, have been through the thick of it and, know what it takes to win close basketball games and know what it takes to compete every single night in 2 different leagues. So a big difference is just the experience aspect, and getting a late start from football. Didn't really help situations when you have a young team because you only have, 4 days, 5 days of practice before you play your first game. And no head coach wants to do that, but it is what it is. You make it work, you roll with it. But it makes it a lot easier when you have guys that have kind of already done some of the stuff and already know kind of the offense or the defensive schemes that you kind of want to put in. So there's not a lot of teaching in plays. It's more just, review a little bit. So yeah, last year didn't go as planned with being young. And then also we had a lot of injuries. We lost Bo Burnessler because he tore his ACL. Landon Best got hurt early in the year because he ended up with blisters and gotten infected and was in the hospital. So we had a whole bunch of injuries along with being young and inexperienced too. So a lot of things kind of just went against us last year. And it seemed like, okay, now what? What's going to happen now? But we rolled with it. We got through it. Didn't, have the success that we wanted. But we were right there. I mean, we lost, I think, like 6 games within single digits. So we lost quite a few games that we, if we made a couple shots or got a couple stops, we, it could have went our way. But I think we're ready to bounce back. I think, the guys are facing another year of success in football, and we had a good summer. So hopefully we can translate that to basketball.
Well, I wish you good luck, but more importantly, good health this season.
Yes, I appreciate that. We definitely need that. We need to win a couple more football games and stay healthy. That's our goal.
That's Connor Kohls talking about Columbus Grove basketball. We've got more coaches when we come back here in just a minute. Continental basketball on tap now as we talk to one of 2 guys who has hit 8 threes in a game at Continental and the head coach in Scott Keck. And as you look at this year's team, I know that the goal obviously is to get back to state like in 05, but what's that journey like for you as a player now, kind of a little bit removed from it, of being able to look down memory lane and say, those were good times?
Yeah, those were definitely good times. I would definitely say times are a little different now. We're in a different era, and just things are different. I'm learning as I go. It's my 4th season, and things just aren't the same as back when I played, and we're trying to adapt. And I think it's just a new era of basketball.
And when you kind of look at where the program was, 5 wins the year before you took it over, 3-1 the previous 2. What was it that was important to you about coming home and, I don't want to say resurrecting, but resurrecting this program to the point where it had been so good before?
Yeah, I did. We went so many seasons and we weren't winning basketball games, and I just wanted to come in and I wanted to make sure, kids were getting in the gym and kids know what it felt to have success. I think we got that losing attitude, and that was one of my things I'm working on and wanting to change their attitude and, win games,
With this group that you have, I mean, kind of look at what you have coming back. You have 3 starters who return and some guys who also saw a lot of action the last couple of years. How important is it to have that upstairs with guys who can kind of play Ironman basketball in a way, because you don't have a ton of depth?
Yeah, it's great having we have 5 seniors, 3 starters returning. It's nice watching them grow. I remember my first year they were freshmen, and seeing them their freshman year all the way through, and now they're seniors on the floor. As a coach, you feel confident knowing, if a team's putting a press on this or that, you got seniors on the floor that can take care of the ball, and they've matured over the years, and it's nice knowing having those 3 seniors returning.
You've got kind of a different thing in that your center gets injured last week of Brady Thompson. How big will it be for other guys to step up and replace them?
Yeah, losing Brady last week, it kind of just shocked us all. Wasn't prepared for that. He'll be back, shortly. He'll miss a few games. But, we got another senior, Peyton Wilson, who's going out for the team this year, and he stepped in and he's been great. You got that senior on the floor. So, yeah, it's just a whole different style of basketball. You got a 6'4" big guy underneath, and you don't have him. Now you got 5 guards out there playing, and I think we've adapted really well, and I've liked what I've seen so far.
You guys hit the road running in your first 7 days. You have 3 away games, Paulding, Temple Christian, and Hicksville. How do you feel sitting a couple of weeks from the start of those games, that your continual preparedness will lead you to that first Friday night?
Well, our kids, we keep getting better each night. We got another 2 weeks of practice to prepare, and I feel confident. Our kids are playing really hard. We do have 4 seniors in the starting lineup to start that first night, and it always feels good having those seniors on the floor. And as long as our kids keep working hard, well, hopefully that'll take care of everything that needs to be done.
Last year, Kalida, Ottoville, and Pandora, the top 3 teams in the PCL. How do you see the league this year, and how do you see the Pirates fitting in?
I think our league's very competitive. I think, those are always the 3 teams on the top. I think Miller City's really well. I think that I think Grove's good. Lipstick should be good. I think we're right there in the mix. I just feel like it's a really good league, and I think it's anyone's title this year. It might be a 5-2 PCL winner this year. I don't know. We'll see.
What do people not know about your team going into the season that they are going to learn pretty quickly?
I think every year, I feel like Continental always gets overlooked. I don't think we get respect. I've been saying it for years, the PCL voting. I'm still on Mitchell Coleman, didn't get first team, 2 years ago. Connor Nip Williams didn't get first team last year. We're always overlooked. We don't get any respect. And I just told the players, we got to earn that respect. Win some basketball games, and it'll take care of itself.
Well, I wish you guys good luck this season and just beating respect into the rest of the league.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
That's Scott Keck, the head coach at Continental. Some more when we come back. When you finish with the Putnam County League, why not finish with the defending league champs and the Kalida Wildcats, coming off of a 7-0 campaign a season ago, and the head coach and Ryan Stechschulte? I would think that it never gets old hearing that.
Obviously, every year your first goal when you talk to your kids is, the regular season and winning the league. So, as good as the league was last year, for us to come out with unblemished and win it was great for the kids.
You guys ended up losing to Ottoville in the districts last year by 4, but what was it? I mean, the first time around you got them by 2 at home in overtime. What was it about how those 2 teams were matched up that just provided those kind of chess matches?
Yeah, it's a great question because we kind of varied in our style, and I think that was a lot of the reason. We were predominantly post-oriented and fairly long, and they were guard-oriented and liked the perimeter. So, and they were very good. So, it's one of those deals where I think if we would have played 100 times, it would have been very close to a 50-50 split. And anytime you're playing, your rival who's, like I said, very good, it's very, very difficult to beat that team twice.
All right, there's my question. Would you say that Ottoville is your natural rival?
Yeah, I think that's the game that the kids circle. I don't think it's close, to be honest.
Well, I asked that because I know everybody in the PCL is sort of everybody else's rival, but depending on who you ask or what establishment you might be in town and how old the person is, they maybe come up with a different team, and that's always fascinated me of, well, how do I know who their rival is then?
Right. Well, I think you could classify every PCL game as some level of a rival. As close as our proximity is. But, with the quality of teams that Ottoville and Keith have had the last handful of years, and I think we've had some pretty darn good ones too, that I think that one's kind of just naturally grown. And, and those kids, they all play multiple sports, and it seems like they're competing against each other spring, fall, and winter every year to, in games of significance.
It doesn't help, too, that a lot of the coaches are from different places where they've been through their own rivalries over the years, and you just kind of carry them over. And like I said, I think it's easier at this point to just say every PCL game is a rivalry game.
Yeah, they all mean a lot. And that's, like I said, there's definitely a form of rivalry with every school in the county.
This year you've got kids that have had a lot of success in different sports. You get your 2 returning letter winners. I know you don't have a ton, but Jacob Siebenek, and despite the fact that you have it listed this way, I refuse to call him Braylon Smith with Bubba. Somebody did that at one of the tournaments, and I was told not to call him Braylon, so I knew better.
Yeah, the formal thing is Braylon, but I think if somebody said Braylon, I wouldn't know who they were talking about. So I totally agree with you. Yeah, but yeah, Bubba's going to be our point guard, obviously, and Jake played some minutes at the kind of the small forward, off guard kind of spot. There are two guys that had minutes, with all of the seniors that we started and played last year. So we're going to be looking to lean on those two guys a lot, just on some leadership and the understanding of what we're trying to do.
With having so many multi-sport kids, this is always a question I ask a lot of coaches. How are you able to see that group be tight in the progression as athletes and as intelligent young men from the success they had in basketball last year, the success in baseball, the success obviously in soccer recently, and then carry over back through basketball again?
I think it just becomes a culture of expectation. I guess that's probably the wrong word, because that kind of leads to maybe some entitlement too. But they're competitors. They're used to winning. They know how to win regardless of sport. I think we've got a steep hill to climb with this group, especially with our early schedule. But we've talked about a lot of that early on in the year about practicing the right way, competing the right way, and just trying to get better every day. So it's a group that that we're probably gonna get stung a few times early on. We're playing some veteran teams that are gonna be very good, and it'll be interesting to see how we react to some of that adversity.
With your 11 years as a head coach, have you had a team that has this less, so to speak, coming back at any point?
No, it's a great question. The answer is no, not even close. This is a whole new experience for me as well. So, I think Brad Horstman and I have been talking quite a bit the last couple of weeks after practice, and it's probably a good thing that we're not 10 years younger. I think we'd definitely be less patient because there's a lot of growth and a lot of teaching that's going on right now, and we realize that that's part of it, and it's part of an experience that we spend as much time teaching as we do as motivating, as coaching, as doing the basketball things from an X's and O's standpoint. Really just slowing down and trying to get the kids to understand it mentally before we can even move on to get them to perform the way we want physically.
So what you're saying is this is going to be one of those years that you have to earn your money about being a good coach.
We'll find out how we can get these kids, from this time of year around Thanksgiving, what they look like now. I know what they look like in practice. We've had 4 scrimmages. I'm really hoping to see a lot of progression between now and, early February, middle of February, when it's time to, hopefully when all the chips are on the line, before tournament starts.
I assume that you just irritated a lot of coaches with that last segment of you've had 4 scrimmages, because there are probably guys who have struggled to get one in with whatever their sport is that are saying, oh, look at him bragging right now.
Well, I don't know if that's a brag or not, but I know my former player, Mr. Kohls over in Grove, has got to be more than itching with all the football success over there. And I know he hasn't had any yet. So anything real anyway. I don't know if they've even had any practice or anything with the other teams with the lack of kids that he's got. But, we the season's back a week. So even going to districts in soccer, we were able to start on time. And what better way to gain experience than to go out and compete against other teams?
It's funny because he was exactly who I was thinking of. One of the things that you noted on working on was that you wanted to create better shooters. Has it occurred to you to maybe don one of those sleeves and go out and show the kids how to get it done?
I'm way too old for that, man. Way too old. And there's a difference, like we tell our kids all the time, there's a difference between playing horse and shooting the ball in game-like situations. And I think that's something that we've really kind of trying to hammer home with them and to get them to, while we understand that they're three sport guys, if you're going to spend 20, 30 minutes a couple times a week with the ball in your hands in the off season, do it the right way. And hopefully, as these kids grow and, as our kids come up through the system here, we see some improvement from that aspect.
I asked Carson Monger at New Knoxville about this, and I said, did it also maybe occur to you that with the success of the soccer team, especially with Bubba, that maybe you try to make it that you can kick a ball through the hoop and see if that works out?
We don't make a lot of references to soccer in the basketball program over here. It's a sport that kids love to play. I've never been one that's much of a fan. I never did it. I just never understood it. So I love when our kids have success in it, but for me to even speak somewhat eloquently about it it's not going to happen.
Oh,
no.
That's not what we're doing on this podcast, because I'm the wrong guy for that. But I'm just saying, if you guys are having a night where things aren't going in, maybe just try to kick the ball through the hoop.
We may or may not have made some references in jest about that before. I can't lie about that.
I don't know about the legality and all that, but it would sure as hell make for an interesting call.
I definitely have to listen to what you'd have to say about something like that. That's for sure.
I just turned and look up. What did he say? I also said maybe you should try donkey basketball, but nobody seemed to go for that idea either.
I'm not even sure I know what that is.
You just ride a donkey and try to play basketball. It's not easy, though. I'll tell you that. It's kind of, there's a joke there about one on top of their own kind, I think.
Sure.
When you look at the PCL this year, where do you fit in? Who do you see near the top?
Well, it's interesting. Pandora's has a nice group back, but I believe they lost one of the Harris twins to a torn ACL in football, which, anytime a small school is a very key piece, it changes things a lot. I still look at them with Aiden Harris and that crew to be a team to look at as a potential PCL contender for sure. Ottoville's got a nice nucleus back, and their young squad last year was very good. So I think they've got a lot of pieces. Grove's got everybody back, and then with Bernicer coming back off injury, once they get their feet wet, I think they're going to be very solid too. But Miller City's got a lot of kids back, so. I know I'm just kind of going down the line here, but, you kind of look around. I think that's the first time, maybe in a few years, where I could see quite a few teams win the league. I don't think that's been the case so much in the past handful or so. There's always been kind of a clear cut 2 or 3, and then everybody else. This year, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think there could be 4 or 5 teams that could end up winning the league, and maybe a year where a 5-2 team splits with another team. I just think it's going to be pretty balanced.
Well, good luck to you and the boys as it rolls on, and good luck with the continuity early on.
Well, I appreciate it, man. We're working at it, and we're going to go back at it today about 3:00.
That's soon. And happy Thanksgiving too, by the way.
Yeah, thanks to you, man. Same.
That's Ryan Stechschulte, the head coach at Kalida. That finishes up our look at the PCL. Thank you so much for listening and staying tuned. I realize that it is a lot of information, but I hope you had at least 1 or maybe 10 interviews that you really enjoyed in this segment and in overall. If you've made it the entire way, can't say enough. Please, again, hit me up on Twitter, @MichaelHearnPBP. Tell me who it was that you enjoyed or maybe who you didn't. It doesn't matter either way. But I appreciate it, and I can't say thank you enough to the 45 coaches who were a part of it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you get out to some games. Big ones coming up this weekend and all season long. Happy to be out there. If you see me, say hi. And you can always find me behind the mic. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow. And happy Thanksgiving.
Here I go. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Around the Hearn. Come back next week for more local stories from the NWO. But until then, be sure to follow us on Twitter @MichaelHearnPBP for more great area content.